Hey guys, my name is Aaliyah, and today I'm taking you somewhere unexpected, somewhere mysterious, misunderstood, and completely unlike what the travel brochures tell you. Morocco, you've seen the photos, right? The colorful souk, the lanterns, the camels, the girls with flowy dresses spinning around in the desert. You probably think of Morocco as a fantasy, a real-life Pinterest board of spices and sunsets. I thought the same until I got there and learned the truth. Morocco is not a country. It's a labyrinth, one made of secrets, shadows, and centuries-old codes you can't Google your way through. I came here to film a simple travel vlog. Tajin, mosaics, henna, the usual stuff. But within days, I realized I had stumbled onto something so much deeper and stranger. What started as a pretty trip turned into something I'll never forget. First, it was picture perfect. Casablanca, whitewashed charm with a French accent, smooth-talking tour guides, endless mint tea, palm trees, mosques with gold, domes shining like fire. Locals smiling, saying, "You are welcome, sister," was exactly what I expected. Until nightfall came, and suddenly everything felt different. In the alleyways behind the markets, I began to feel watched, not in a romantic, mysterious way. In a "you're free and they're not" kind of way. One thing you quickly learn. In Morocco, there are two worlds. One is for the tourists, the photos, the flavors, the fake smiles. The other, the real Morocco, the one behind the curtain. There are women who haven't danced in public in 10 years. Teenage girls married off before they finish school, and men with 4 wives, only one of whom gets to be seen. There are rituals, ancient customs, whispers of jinns and forbidden names. They won't show you this on TikTok, but I saw it. And it all started in a city older than most countries. Fez. The leather tanneries brought me there. But what I found was something else entirely. A whisper, an invitation to a place I didn't know existed. They called it the Love Market. Yes, you heard that right. Love Market. At first, thought they were joking. It sounded like a bizarre mix of Tinder and tradition. A festival invented for tourism. But no, this was real. A sacred seasonal ritual. Hidden in the high Atlas Mountains. Rare, mysterious, protected, and if you want in, you need to be chosen. That night in Fez, someone slipped a name to me over. A cup of thick coffee, Imilchil. If you really want to understand Moroccan women, they said, go there. But don't go alone. I laughed. But their eyes didn't. They weren't warning me about danger. They were warning me about something bigger. A place where love isn't whispered, it's negotiated. In part 2, I'll tell you how I got into the love market and what I had to trade to get there. Because what happens in Imilchil is not for tourists. It's not for cameras. It's for women and what they choose. Stay with me. You've never seen Morocco like this before. They told me not to go alone, but I did. Not because I'm reckless, but because I couldn't risk losing the chance. The road to Imilchil wasn't on any map I trusted. The GPS lost signal. The air grew thinner. The colors of the world shifted from ochre and market gold to stone, dust, and whispering wind. The high Atlas Mountains are ancient. They don't care about influencers. They don't care about likes. They carry stories older than cities, and you feel it in your bones. The village appeared like a secret someone forgot to hide well. No signs, no welcome gates. Just a small, rocky valley dotted with tents, goats, scarves flapping on wooden poles, and eyes. Eyes that watched everything. I had never felt so out of place, and so alive. The love market, I learned, is not a place. It's a moment. It happens once a year, during a tribal gathering called the Moroccan of Imilchil. where the Atedadu tribe comes together to do something that challenges every rule of conservative Moroccan society. Let young people choose who they want to marry. Yes, in a country where arranged marriage still dominates. In this one sliver of the mountains, a girl can look a boy in the eye and say yes or no. But nothing about it felt romantic at first. There were no flowers, no fairy lights. It's just earth. Voices, dust, and intensity. People gather from remote villages, some walking days to get here. Girls wear white. Heavy necklaces, kohl around their eyes. Boys stand in loose lines, adjusting their djellabas, glancing nervously. But here's the twist. It's the women who choose, and everyone knows it. I was allowed to stay, but with conditions, no filming. During the selections, no interrupting the rituals, no asking names. You may observe, said a wrinkled woman with eyes like broken moons, but only if you do not interfere. I agreed, but I took notes. Every moment, every breath, every instinct that told me this is not what it looks like, because what I saw was not just love, it was strategy, survival, power. Young women, some no older than 17, approached the boys they'd never been allowed to touch in public before. And with a single nod or hand on the shoulder, or whispered name, they chose. It was breathtaking, but also brutal. Not every choice was returned. Not every smile was answered. And in that moment, I saw tears fall next to goat hooves. A tease. I saw joy crack like thunder in the silence of the crowd. One girl was rejected publicly. Another laughed as she ran off, fingers entwined with a man whose eyes had never left her. Some couples had met before. Some were complete strangers, but every match was sacred. Once confirmed, it was final. And the elders, they watched, not judging, just remembering, because they too had once chosen, or been chosen. That night, I sat under a tarp, eating flatbread and lentils, when an old woman leaned toward me and said, "You think this is strange? It is not strange. It is just hidden. In your world, people swipe. Here, they stand, they look, and they feel." And suddenly, I understood. This wasn't just a market. It was a revolution that had lasted centuries, kept alive in silence. In part 3, I'll take you inside one of the most bizarre, emotional, and sacred ceremonies I've ever witnessed, and tell you what happened when someone chose me. Yes, me. It was supposed to be just research, a story, a once-in-a-lifetime moment. I could document from a safe distance, but that was before he walked toward me. Let me back up. It was late afternoon. The sun hit the mountains at a strange angle, casting shadows that made everything feel ancient and theatrical. The second round of choosing had begun, a more intimate circle, where only the most serious matches were sealed. There were no phones, no tourists. Just real people, real choices, and something unspoken in the air. It was sacred. It was electric. I stood near the edge of the main tent, scribbling notes, trying to stay invisible. And that's when I felt it. A presence, not a glance, a pull. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a dark blue tunic with silver embroidery. He looked like something out of a different century. But his eyes, dark, steady, unreadable, were very much locked on me. At first, I looked behind me, assumed he was searching for someone else, but he didn't look away. He stepped forward. People around him parted slightly, like they knew something. I didn't. I swallowed. He reached me, stood in front of me, and without touching me, lowered his gaze. Then slowly raised it again. A nod. One single nod, just like the girls had done earlier. But this time, it was for me. I blinked. A mix of confusion, disbelief, and a spike of fear shot through me. Was he joking? Was this allowed? I hadn't signed up for this. I wasn't part of this. Or was I now? My translator, Neoa, appeared by my side in seconds. Her voice low, but urgent. "He's made an offer. What kind of offer? It's symbolic. He's saying he sees you. He's inviting you to say yes. Is this marriage? She hesitated. No, but yes. In spirit. Here, if you accept, it's serious. It's a bond, and if I decline, you must decline gently. With respect, or it brings shame. My heart thundered. I wasn't ready for this. I wasn't dressed for this. I wasn't one of them. But something in his eyes wasn't mocking. It wasn't performative. It was real. I stepped forward, just slightly, and I did something bold. I looked him in the eye and smiled. Not acceptance, not rejection, just acknowledgement. Niwa whispered, "You answered. In your way, that's enough." You gave him honor. He bowed his head slightly, turned, and disappeared into the crowd. And I stood there, shaking. Because in that moment, I realized I wasn't just documenting the love market. I had become part of its mythology. That night, I couldn't sleep. My hands trembled as I replayed everything. The eyes, the nod, the choice I never expected. What had I agreed to? What did it mean? But more than anything, I felt changed. Not because I was chosen, but because, for once, I wasn't judged. Not for my body, not for my career, not for being different. I was simply seen on part 4. I'll take you deeper. Behind the curtain, to a hidden women's circle, where the wives, mothers, and daughters of the Atlas Mountains share the truths no man is ever allowed to hear. And what I learned there, let's just say, Morocco is far stranger and more powerful than you ever imagined. I was told to come alone. No camera, no phone, no translator, only a scarf to cover my hair and the willingness to listen. They called it simply the circle. It was held after dark, past the edge of the Love Market, in a small clay-walled home lit with nothing but oil lamps and fire. The air smelled like burnt rosemary and mint. The door creaked open, and I stepped into a room full of women. Old, young, married, unmarried. One held a baby. Another had eyes so silver it looked like they'd seen 10 lifetimes. No one smiled, no one clapped. They simply let me in. And when the door closed behind me, it was like the rest of the world fell away. No introductions, just truth. One woman began to sing, low, haunting, rhythmic. It wasn't for performance. It was for memory. Then another began to speak, and slowly, in turns, they opened their mouths and told stories that no man in Morocco would ever be allowed to hear. Stories of being married at 13, of being shared between brothers, of hiding books beneath floorboards, of love that came in stolen glances between laundry lines, but also stories of resistance, of spells cast with cinnamon and salt, secrets passed from grandmother to granddaughter, of choices made in silence, and the freedom found in the smallest rebellions. A young woman beside me, maybe 19, leaned in and whispered, "The love market, it's not for love, it's for voice. It's the 1 week we get to say yes or no. The rest of the year, we say nothing." I asked her, "What happens after?" She shrugged. "Sometimes you marry. Sometimes they forget. But for that one moment, they must look at us. And wait. And hope." That hit me like thunder. This market wasn't a fairy tale. It was a flare in the dark. A ritual of female decision, dressed up in romance, because it was the only way it would be allowed to survive. One of the older women looked at me directly. Her voice was raspy but clear. "You think this is exotic, strange, beautiful. But to us, war. A quiet war. Every year for 3 days, we remind them, we are not things to be arranged. We are choosers, even if it costs us." That sentence will never leave me. They offered me tea, dark, bitter, no sugar. We sat in silence, not awkward, but full, heavy with history. Then, before I left, one of the women placed her hand over mine and said, "You will leave here. Tell our story, but tell it right." And so, I am in part 5, the final chapter. I'll take you back to the surface. 2. The end of the love market. It's the morning after the ritual, and I'll tell you the truth about what changed in me, and why Morocco is the strangest, most powerful place I've ever stepped into. You think you've seen it all. Not yet. Morning came quietly. No more music, no singing, no scarves dancing in the wind. The love market was gone. Tents collapsed. Footprints already vanishing in the dust. It was like it had never happened, but I knew better. Something had shifted in them. And in me, I stood at the edge of the now empty square, watching as villagers packed their donkeys, young men lit cigarettes in silence, and women carefully wrapped their jewelry and folded their white dresses, the ones they only wore for this ritual. This moment of defiance, dressed in tradition, Nagwa found me again. She looked different too. Lighter, they chose. She said, and now they returned to waiting. Until next year. Do you think it matters? I asked. That they get 3 days. She looked at me long and deep. If you've been told your whole life that your voice is shame, then 3 days of choosing can echo louder than years of silence. Back in the city, the real world felt. Fake tourists in cafetones. Mint tea for show. Instagram shoots in staged riads. Morocco, the version they sell you, felt like a lie wrapped in gold. I couldn't stop thinking about the women, the circle, the song, the stories, the pain, the strength. I went there to film content, but instead, I found a code, a language written in eyes and silence, in henna and hesitation, in forbidden love stories whispered behind rugs and walls. I came to Morocco as a blogger. I left as a witness. Closing message for voiceover or ending text to the women of the mountains, to the girls who nod instead of shout, to the ones who love in silence and still choose anyway. I see you. And to you, watching this, if you ever feel like your story doesn't matter, remember them. 3 days, no phones, just voice. That's all it takes to begin a revolution. Final fade out. Camila walks away from the edge of the mountain, scarf flying behind her. The wind carries a distant song. ... And we fade to black. Thank you for walking with me. Until the next story.